welcome to the Clifton Worley Show. This week we have Roger Yeager. What's up, man?
Hello, Clifton.
I'm excited to have you on the show this week. Now,
Yeah.
give our listeners a little bit of a just quick overview. You're a musical artist based out of Nashville,
Yes.
and you've got an album that you're recording right now.
Yes.
And I guess tell me a little bit. There's something interesting about you that you don't see a lot of artists doing, but you actually play the sitar.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah,
a
I
little bit
do.
about that.
Well, I've been playing sitar for about 12 years, and it was something that I kind of kept separate from my songwriting. But I moved to India for a year or so, and I learned from an old woman there, um, and that was an amazing experience. But it was in the last 5 years or so that I really started trying to incorporate it into my own music, and that has been a journey. But I have really enjoyed what I've been able to create with it.
Well, that's really interesting, and I listened to some of your music, and it's there. It kind of weaves in and out.
Yeah,
It's kind of like you can imagine like if you're using like a pedal steel to kind of make some drone-ish sounds. It enhances and kind of creates a landscape.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's always been the thing is like because I've heard fusion music. I've heard music where people brought the sitar in and they went full Indian with it, and for I think sometimes for a Western audience you can lose some interest, or it can sound cheesy
Hmm.
if you go all out all the time. So the challenge for me was how do I kind of maintain this singer songwriter sort of sound and feel while still bringing this in.
Yeah. Well, let's before we delve off into your music, let's kind of circle back and let's go to where it all began and kind of just walk me through kind of your story.
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I was born there, grew up there, started playing guitar when I was 13 years old. My favorite band at the time was called the Newsboys.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, so I was very very into them, and asked for a guitar for Christmas when I was 13, and I got it, and just started learning and started singing and started writing songs, and nobody really taught me to do that or told me I should do that. It just kind of happened naturally with me. And I played in a band in high school. We made an album when I was 15. I was a freshman in high school, and we were called Swept, and we thought we were the stuff. um, yeah, and that was fun. We got to like run around, play in Oklahoma a bit, and we got to play a couple big shows with like a couple signed artists. That was awesome. But we broke up when I was 17, and then I started doing more acoustic shows, playing in coffee houses, that kind of stuff. Then when I was 18, I moved to Nashville to go to Belmont University and study music
Okay.
full time. Um, so lasted there for about a year, and then during that time, I really got interested in India and in the sitar, and so I moved to India when I was 19 to learn the sitar, and spent a year there, then moved back to Oklahoma and sort of tried to figure out life for a long time, and moved back to Nashville 4.5 years ago to like do music for real,
Okay.
give it a serious try.
Well, awesome. Let me go back to a few things you said. So
Yeah,
one of your first influences you mentioned was the Newsboys.
yeah.
Do you think that still has any impact on like the way you play music today?
I don't know. Maybe not entirely, but there's definitely a soft spot in my heart
Hmm.
for them. Because I can go back and listen to those albums I used to listen to back then, and it's nostalgic for me.
Right.
I don't like their new music. I'm not really a fan, but um, yeah, they definitely hold a special place in my heart. But I'm definitely not like watching their concerts, going, okay, how do I perform like these boys?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
yeah,
remember there was a place in time when I kind of grew up where that was some of the music I was listening to as well. And
yeah,
I remember they had a um, like live concert thing. I think it was like "I'm Not Ashamed," and it was like a whole kind of like
wow,
rockumentary deal.
yeah,
And really, that was like way ahead of its time at
yeah,
that point, and just what they were doing and the sounds they were making. And so yeah, they were an incredible group. Now I agree with you. Like right now, like I don't. It's not where I'm at musically, and not where um, like what I enjoy listening to. But back then, they were pretty groundbreaking.
yeah, yeah. I can totally see that, especially just when you look at what else was around.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
They Their songs were weird and very original, and they break all the songwriting rules in Nashville today, and I love it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, so you moved to Nashville at a fairly young age, and you went to Belmont. What were you doing there?
I was studying guitar performance as a music major.
Okay.
So it just was kind of in that I was in that place of I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I know that I like music, so I'll go to music school and try it out and see what that's like. I didn't really know what I was getting into coming to Nashville. I didn't know that this like Nashville was a big deal for music, really. So it was kind of a surprise, but a
Yeah.
pleasant one.
Yeah. So how did the India thing come about?
So I heard you familiar with Jeff Buckley?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on his Grace album, he's got sitar on one or two songs, and I think that was kind of the first thing that drew me to sitar. But so a lot of it was just like I wanted to be different. Like, oh, everybody's studying jazz and classical guitar, but oh, look, sitar, nobody's doing that. That could be my thing. And so that was a lot of it. But I kind of in the process got interested in India itself, and someone gave me a CD of a band called Aradhna that was doing some kind of cool um, mix of guitar and sitar sort of stuff, and so I ended up contacting those guys and asking them for help on someone like, hey, can you connect me with anyone in India where I could learn sitar, and they ended up doing that. They wrote me back and said, yeah, contact this guy. So
So I mean, so you just left everything behind, moved over there for a
yes,
year. What was that
yeah,
like?
it was. That was a lot of things. You kind of have. Well, I had a honeymoon period, as I would call it, where I was like, "Oh man, this is awesome!
Mm-hmm.
Look at all this new culture, these new things. I mean, new people, learning this." I just really was enjoying that. Um, at the time, I wasn't sure if I'd come home or not. Kind of thought maybe I'd spend the rest of my life there, but life kind of happens anywhere you go, and so to some extent, I had kind of been running away from my own issues back here in the States, and I think some of those caught up with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was faced with my own heart and my own mess, and kind of found myself in a relationship with a girl there, and then that didn't work out, and that kind of sent me into a place of despair, and then I didn't know what else to do with my life, and I ended up getting really sick towards the end of my time there. Spent 3 days in a hospital in Delhi, and at that point, decided to go back home.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what was your takeaway from there?
Um, oh man, a lot of things. I think it showed me how diverse the world is, and I mean, I learned a lot of good lessons there for myself. Like I learned how to stand up for myself, and um, I think I learned in some ways how to love people well. Um, I got to stay with a family. A family kind of took me in, and so I learned hospitality also, what it looks like to open up your home to someone and let them stay for an extended period. And
Yeah,
yeah, so I learned things that changed me forever.
that's cool. Um, so I know I'm thinking here. It's like when I was 18.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure I could have handled going, to another country and living there, just completely, doing something out of the box. Like I know it must have been like, to me, that would have been frightening.
yeah,
And but that's a huge leap. I know, for sure. And I'm sure that will always weave its way in to your story somehow.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it still does. I even like I go back to India every year currently, and
Really?
I get to yeah, I get to teach songwriting in some schools, and even this last time I was just there for a month. We spent 10, 12 days recording vocals for the new album.
Oh wow. Well,
So India is still part of my life.
I want to take a moment then and kind of ask you about that. What is, I mean, when I think of India, I think about the obviously the sitar and some of the native music, but what is happening there with the music
Well,
scene and everything?
yeah, it's really strange for us. Um, you know, there it's still this way to some extent, but especially 10 years ago, yeah, all the young Indian guys were playing like 80s metal,
Okay.
and it was like they were like kind of 20 years behind of where we were, and it still is that way to some extent. But so sitar is more, it's like their classical music. So you actually don't meet many Indians that play classical Indian music.
Hmm.
Most of them will play guitar or drums or bass. That's those kind of things. That's sort of what they're doing now. And so guitar for them, it's almost like a violin or something for us. Like there's a select amount of people that are into that and will devote themselves to that, but it's very small compared to the rest of the music population, if you will.
Yeah.
So India is very similar right now.
So is it where and I'm asking because I don't know. Is it where they're wanting to do what we're doing right now in the U.S.?
Yeah, to some extent. Um, so you've got in India, you've got the Bollywood industry,
Right.
and that's where a lot of stuff happens, and that's most of that music ends up going onto movies, and then the movie songs get played on the radio, and they become big. But you have a lot of, especially in places like Delhi or Mumbai, maybe Bangalore. Also, you got a lot of younger guys coming up that want to play in rock bands and do that kind of thing. But the industry is different. It seems like it's not quite as easy. Not that it's easy here, but it's not easy as an Indian rock band to really like climb the charts and get fame that way. Like you can kind of like win some competitions in your city, but that's really the best
Yeah.
you're gonna do.
Yeah. This sounds very much like if you think about like roots rock, like when the guys used to go out on the road and hit it hard, and there wasn't a lot of comfort on the road. That makes me kind of think maybe that's where the scene may be at there. It's like they're pioneering the rock movement.
Yeah, yeah, it really is that. It is really a pioneering kind of thing right now.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, let's get back to your story. So you moved back to Oklahoma, and are you pursuing
Yes.
music at this point?
Um, not really. I mean, I set up like a couple shows and coffee houses and restaurants and stuff, but especially those first couple of years, I was just trying to get back on my feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's how. Yeah, because I came back pretty sick. I weighed 120 pounds at 6'1". Um, so that was just kind of a time of, oh, let's get healthy. Let's figure that out before I do anything else.
Right.
And then after a while, then things kind of started to pick up. Like I started to do a little bit of touring, just kind of around the Midwest, but nothing that really took off.
Okay. Well, how long was the gap between moving back to Oklahoma and then going to back to Tennessee?
6.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what was that propelled you in the decision to, hey, I'm going to pursue this. I'm going to move to Nashville and do this.
So I spent a little time like trying to make music work, and then just found that it wasn't. I even like went and tried out for American Idol, and sort of made it through the first round, and then totally botched the second round, and that for me that was a big discouragement, but I don't know. I just was looking at everything I was trying to do and going, this isn't working. What now? And right around the same time, I'd been at a church there for a few years, and they asked me to step up and start leading worship for them. So I said yes to that, and I did that for 2 years. But then at the end of that 2 years, I sort of felt this Nashville dream kind of coming back alive in me. So I was still playing music. I'd go play music on Fridays and Saturdays, in bars and restaurants there in Tulsa. And but there was a songwriting competition that came through town, and there were a few guys from Nashville that were the judges there, and so that sort of reconnected me with these Nashville. I don't know whether to call them roots, but this Nashville relationship that I had 8 years prior, and I'm going, oh, wait a second, I remember this. These are like songwriting pros. This is the life that I could have had if I had stayed, but. I felt like, for me, it felt like time to go ahead and close the Oklahoma chapter and go back.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. I'm totally glad I did.
So let's go into one of the things I noticed, like when I was listening to some of your music, is they were pretty infectious tunes. I mean, and these are all this is all stuff that you're writing.
Yeah. Some of it I write alone, and then some of it I write with other people. But yeah, I have a hand in everything.
Well, how have you honed that craft to where it is today?
I guess just writing a lot. I think I've always been someone who only good music was not enough for me, and only good lyrics was not enough for me. So I would sit with my guitar and try to come up with something more interesting than just playing a G chord and then a D chord and then let's throw an E minor there and call it done. So I really found satisfaction in coming up with catchy things. I think it's just, and some of it is just the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah. Well, when you're writing, because I think every writer I've talked to has a little bit different approach.
Yeah.
But is it is it trying to get an outlet to say what you want to say? Is it because you got a story to tell and you want to get it out there? I mean, what are some of the things you're thinking, like when you're getting, these songs? Are they just coming out of nowhere? Seems like.
Man, everything is a little different for me because you have, especially since I've lived here in Nashville, most of my songwriting has been with other people, and those can look different, because sometimes you're meeting with someone and you're supposed to come to a songwriting session with an idea, and so it's a totally different approach sometimes than like, this is what is literally coming out of me at the moment. So sometimes some songs have been just, okay, let's talk about what's going on in your life, and oh really, you had a breakup happen last week. Well, how do you feel about it? And then we start talking, and maybe someone says something that catches your ear, and then that becomes a lyric in the song, and so sometimes that's how it goes. Other songs are very personal. They're coming from places of like frustration, and it's just me like trying to voice something that's in my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think from a songwriter standpoint, like sometimes if you're not getting these things out of you, it tends to like blow you up inside.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a freeing thing when you can write those songs that are really honest.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Now, do you keep yourself at a distance from it, or are you pretty transparent, do you think?
How do you mean?
Is it where I know like some writers, they kind of write in riddles a little bit. It's kind of like they put some distance between themselves and the lyrics. So it's kind of like a puzzle piece, and then like other writers, they're pretty just transparent and open. Hey, this is what I'm, and it's like I'm open book. And I know that's a very vulnerable place to be as a writer.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I would say I've gone both ways. I think I'm very careful. Like if I'm going to write about someone else, I definitely want to be careful not to expose them in a negative way.
Yeah.
But I think to some extent, if I'm writing something personal like that, I may tend to write in a more vague way that is maybe relatable for other people, but not specific enough to a situation that somebody knows. Like, oh, you got dumped on Sunday night, and then your car got broken into on Wednesday morning, and I don't write that story out. And that was a real thing that actually happened to me. But
yeah, well, that definitely could fuel some songs. I know that.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about. Okay, so you moved to Nashville. I'm going to go for this. What's it like after you mentioned this earlier, the honeymoon period in India? What was it like after the honeymoon period's kind of ending there?
That's a good question. I think, it becomes like anywhere. You have seasons where you're going, why is this so hard? Like, surely something should happen by now. I think I've questioned like, okay, well, is it time to do something else? Is music just not going to work? Um, but Nashville itself, like, I love it.
And
So
why is that?
I think that one, it's beautiful. I've managed to build really good and healthy friendships here,
Okay.
and that's a fulfilling thing. Um, but I love the creative culture. I love that Nashville attracts entrepreneurs. It attracts musicians and artists. It attracts risk takers. It attracts people that are willing to do crazy things to actually make a living, and they don't care what the corporate world may say.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, people are like, "Oh, cool, you're a musician. Well, what do you do for work?" And that's the mentality.
Hmm.
Well, music's not a career; it's a joke. Like, it's a hobby. You gotta you need to have a job. So I love that Nashville's full of people that make music their job and actually make a living.
Right. I don't think you said that about Tulsa, but I think that's everywhere but Nashville and maybe L.A. and New York.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's definitely true.
Yeah. Um. So from the difference when coming to town and now you're 4 years later, what what do you think now? Like looking back, what do you think? Um, some things that you can kind of put in your back pocket to take with you throughout the rest of your journey in music.
I would say you got to keep taking risks.
Mm.
And I think that's me, and maybe that's largely what I've been learning to do the last 4 years is to take risks. And that looks like putting yourself out there. That looks like recording the record that costs more money than you've ever spent on anything else. That looks like hiring other people to help you do things, be it a manager, be it a PR company, be it a radio promoter. Um, yeah, does that answer the question? I suddenly forget what
Yeah,
the question was.
yeah, yeah. Taking risk. If that was the one thing you boiled down your time in Nashville that you could take away, and
Yeah,
fuel your career with, it'd be take risk.
yeah. Take risks because at the very least, like even if it's a failure, you get to learn something.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so you're in the middle of recording this album right now.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think as far as, well, since you talked about it, risk? What kind of risk are you taking there?
Well, this is an album that almost didn't get made because the last album I spent so much money on,
Hmm.
and I haven't seen that money come back. And and then I was looking at before we began this project, I was just looking at the budget, going, I have to do this again when I haven't. The last album I released 2 years ago, and I haven't seen this money come back. It kind of feels to some extent like I'm throwing that away. But at the same time, like I know that if you do nothing, then nothing's still what you get.
Right.
Um, so and so I considered it, and I prayed about it, and I like talked to some friends about it, and you know ultimately felt like, okay, well, it's time to move forward. So I mean, so that's a risk, is like, oh, okay, we're going to spend more money on this, and I'm 2 years older than I was 2 years ago, and at what point does this actually like break into where I get to make a living, and some of that. And the good thing is I'm smarter now. I know things I didn't know, and I have connections I didn't have. So I do think it will go further than the last one. But
Yeah.
it's daunting in some ways.
Yeah. Well, I know I would be willing to assume that most writers who are working on projects, it's kind of like there's kind of like an expiration date to how long you're satisfied with a work, and then like
Yeah.
you want to do something new. And
Yeah, definitely.
I've known guys who, they record and then it's like a really long time until they can make that next album, and it's not fun to be out on the road playing the same songs when you've got all this other stuff that you want to get out there.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I totally get that. Like, I got it, wanting to get that new music out there. Well, you're doing in the middle of this album, you're doing a pledge campaign.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that for a minute.
Well, the pledge campaign, it basically works like a pre-order sort of thing. So you pre-order the record, and that helps the artist to fund them actually making the record.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there's other perks available. Like I'm gonna sell one of my sitars through it, and I've got some shawls I picked up in India that I'm gonna include as in packages, and there's other things as well. But it's sort of a way just like for fans and the artists to engage with one another. And as I go about it, I get to release special videos like oh, here's some footage from the studio in India, check it out. Here's me playing an acoustic version of this song that you won't get to hear anywhere else. So you get to see exclusive things like that.
Yeah. Well, that I actually think that it's a good thing because it helps you identify, who in your crowd, supports your music and kind of identify your super fans a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
so I'm excited to do it.
So how long are you? Is there like a date that you're have this open till?
I don't actually know for sure. I think it's going to run for 2 months or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got somebody that's helping me run the campaign, and at the moment I don't know how many days it is, but it's around 2 months or so.
Okay. Then you just started the campaign?
It will start. I don't know when your podcast is coming out, but it will start on the. Sorry, I'm looking at my calendar. November. I think it'll start November 14th or 15th.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So, do you have any plans for like what you're gonna do with the recording, like as far as distribution?
Definitely we'll get it out on iTunes. In the past, with my last couple albums, I was able to get them features in Noise Trade, so that will be another distribution thing. With the last album I worked with a company that helped run a college radio campaign and helped what else did they do? Oh, they helped me get some TV and sync licensing stuff. So I'll definitely be going that route as well, since I kind of know that world a little better now. So I'll definitely jump in and try to get some songs on TV shows and movies and so play some shows too.
Yeah. Now where like when you go play shows, is there like kind of a circle you try to make like between some areas? I mean, is there like any particular areas that you just love to visit?
Generally speaking, the Midwest has been really good to me.
Okay.
So I was in South Dakota and Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri over the summer, and I'm actually going back there in December. I'm going to be doing a house show tour, but it's kind of dipping down into places that I've gone before as well, like playing a couple dates in Texas, playing in my hometown in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then from there like swinging up into Kansas and then South Dakota and Iowa and Minnesota again. Yeah, I don't know. Just those places they're fun. They're good people there.
Do you find when you go back, like it kind of growing a little bit each time you go when you make a visit back?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'm still getting better at like being consistent with when I go back to somewhere, and I'm still figuring out how to connect with fans better as well. So,
let me ask this: as far as when you go out on the road, what are you doing? Are you going out by yourself? Are you bringing like a band along?
it's always different. For this house show tour, I'm bringing a percussion player along,
Okay.
and so I'll play acoustic, he'll play percussion, and he'll switch to acoustic, and I'll switch to sitar on the sitar songs. And I did get to take a full band out last year down to Texas. We played down at Red Gorilla Fest, which runs alongside South by Southwest. And played some other shows, and I really love that. I love playing with a full band. It's hard to do that as a solo artist when I have to pay everybody.
Yeah. I can totally see that, and I think the duo thing. I've seen a lot of guys do that when they can't do the full band thing, and it adds just so much more energy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice having a second person there.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's
play off each other.
Probably easier too, just so you don't feel like, hey, I'm not here completely by myself doing this. You know?
Yes. Plus, then the drive is much less lonely.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
That's the part I don't like, is driving 10 hours by myself somewhere. That's so old.
Absolutely. Well, I want to circle back and go to you're recording in India. Is that something like your producer came out there with you, or how did that work?
Yeah. So I've been going out there for the last 12 years. I've been teaching songwriting in some different schools that all happen on the same campus every year. So in this particular campus, there's also a recording studio.
Okay.
So when I sat down with Ryan Poole, my producer, way back in, oh gosh, I don't know, 8 months ago or something, and we'd kind of been planning to make this record, and we just talked about, like, well, what can we do? What can we do that was different from last time? Like, so we just dreamed, and India is such a part of my life that somehow that came up. Like, well, what if we did part of this in India? This would, like, the studio's there. I know the people there. They would love to have us. They would feel really honored that I would do some of it there, spend my time with them. I think this is a possibility. Are you open to flying to India with me? And he was down, and so we did it.
That's interesting. Well, what's it like over there? Like, are you bringing in guys, that are local onto your session?
No. So what we did, we did, we did like 7 or 8 days in Nashville first. So we laid down drums and bass and keys, and I played all the electric guitars before we went to India. So once in India, all we had left were the lead vocals and back. I did backing vocals as well, but we just had vocals and then sitar left in India. So we wanted to save sitar for India, just for the experience.
Absolutely, yeah, I could see
all
that.
Right, now we're here. Now let's play sitar. So, yeah.
Well, do you bring out the sitar like with you on the road?
Yes, I do.
And I've never played one before, but I mean, what's that like? Is there I mean, will you mic one up? Do you have some kind of pickup? How do you approach that?
I've got a pickup that I tape onto the sitar.
Okay.
And sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it doesn't.
That looks like a transducer type pickup?
Yeah, yeah. So it's hard. It's been a difficult journey trying to get it to work the way that I want it to, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Does it?
But
Do you run effects on it?
no,
Just completely the way it is. That's the way you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something I'm open to. I think if effects could possibly be a cool thing, but especially it being an acoustic instrument, it's hard to do too much to it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm too traditional.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the properties of one, but I think it'd totally be interesting to see, how you can manipulate that. Kind of like I'm thinking like Robert Randolph, how he takes the pedal steel and does all kind of crazy things with it. Um, what kind of territory a sitar you could do with that.
Yeah, yeah. It's just definitely things that I've thought about. Like, well, okay, I could maybe stick a delay on it, and who knows what could happen. But I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it does carry a lot of space though.
Yeah,
With its all natural properties.
definitely.
Well, tell me a little bit about your writing for this project.
Yeah. So the theme for this project kind of appropriately ended up being risk. Um, so it's the title track is "Fall Off the Earth," and it's a song that kind of uses that old world metaphor of oh, the Earth is flat, and if we keep going, then we might fall off. So then the chorus is if we keep running, we might fall off the Earth, but if we do nothing, then we might never learn what's on the other side.
That's interesting.
Baby, we gotta try, even if
Yeah,
we fall
yeah.
off the Earth.
I
Yeah.
like that.
So that was a lot of the writing, and there's a couple songs that sort of lend themselves to that theme, and then there's several love songs as well.
Hmm.
And I would say after recording this record, I would say to me it feels very human in the sense that a lot of the songs feel very real, and you get a sense of human feelings and human emotions and frustrations and
Yeah.
um,
Is
yeah.
that satisfying to kind of see that laid out, like looking back?
Sorry.
Is that satisfying to, as an artist, to be able to get that out and then look back at it and say, "Wow, this is kind of I made this an outlet for this."
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well,
But I think the greatest thing is like when you do it, you perform it, and you actually see someone else connect with it.
yeah,
That's really the best part for me.
absolutely. I imagine that would be the icing on the cake, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, you've got some music videos out.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that right now.
Yeah. So we had one that just come out for my song "Just Want to Meet You." Um, it's kind of it's cool concept. So it's like a split screen thing. So it's like you see clips of me like singing the song and playing guitar, but then you see me going about my day, like just running around, like I'm at a coffee shop and I'm on a walk in a park and I'm doing all these things. But then on the other side of the screen, you see a girl like doing a lot of the same stuff and sometimes in the same place, but like at a different time of day. So you almost get this sense of like, okay, these two people are running around and maybe they're going to meet each other, but we don't know because obviously they're going to the same places, but they're there at different times. And so it's sort of a cute story about a guy and a girl just missing each other, and that finally get to meet each other at the end of the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song it's sort of it's a hopeful love song.
Well, what was that like doing the video? Was it kind of walk me through the process of that?
Yeah. Well, it's a DIY kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually worked with my producer Ryan Poole on all of these videos as well. So he storyboards them, and for this particular video, he sent his friend from San Diego to come do the filming. But it just looks like we have several different locations planned. I hired my friend Nettie to be the girl in the video, and then we hired like another friend to do makeup, and a few other people were there to just sort of help things run along. And then we'd run to our different locations and say, the video guy Wesley would say, okay, Roger, you sit here and drink your coffee, and I'm just gonna take some shots of you. And like, okay, Nettie, you go sit there in the same spot and drink your coffee. And it was a lot of that. And then we did a lot of running around outside, and did some drone shots in some places, and it was super fun. It's exhausting, but a fun process. And then when you see the end result, it's fascinating. You're like, wow,
yeah,
that's us running around. Like,
yeah. I imagine that can almost. I mean, for a musician be as satisfying to kind of see the visual aspect as well as the audio aspect from recording an album. I'm sure it's different, but it's cool to have that out.
Well, I think it gives new life to a song. It gives you different angles, and yeah, especially this song that the video just came out for. Like the song has been out for 2 years, but now there's a little bit of life on it again. Like, oh, there's a video now, and there are people that are discovering it now that haven't heard the song yet still. And that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have a question I want to ask. Going through the process of creating all this, and being a creator at heart, and taking risk. What is the well that you draw from, kind of when you need to kind of fill that glass back up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I'm a Jesus. I'm a Christian, and that I would say definitely that place is where I do most of that drawing. I'm surrounded with a lot of good people too that will challenge me and encourage me, and that's great. But yeah, I think ultimately it kind of comes back to, okay, where, at the deepest core of who I am and what I believe I'm here for, like, where is that? And that comes from that place.
Okay. So would you say that's kind of like community would be the word?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well,
I
yeah.
think we need that.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned early on that you were a worship leader at one point for 2 years. If you would just kind of, I know this is a lot of guys who listen to my show, play in churches or play gigs and stuff outside of church. But sure. What do you think? I know I've taught the worship leaders before where, they have aspirations of writing beyond outside of just the worship music realm. What's different in the worlds, and kind of what would be from your point of view? What do you think some of those differences are, and then what are the similarities?
I think to some extent people in the church will pat you on the back and say, "Oh, that was amazing," when maybe they necessarily don't mean it.
Yeah, that's good.
Not always, but I experienced that, and especially as a worship leader. I don't know. I'd have people say to me all the time, "Oh yeah, so when are you going to make your worship record?" And I'm going, "No, I'm not going to. That's not what I want to do." But I don't know. Um, I think, I think to some extent in the world, you kind of have to prove yourself. Um, I don't know. These things I'm still figuring out too, I guess, and it can be messy, but uh, you can't skate by on sloppiness, I guess.
Yeah.
In the
It's in the
church, to some extent, you can.
Yeah, I can totally get that.
Yeah,
I think well in the church world it's different too, like what people expect out of you too.
yeah, yeah. It is. And it can get funny because it can be like, oh, come play this event, and you're a musician, and oh, you're gonna do it for the Lord, right? So that which means you're gonna do it for free, and um,
Yeah.
and you don't. I mean, to some, you see some of that out in bars, but not always. Like, and you can value yourself and say, oh, I cost this much to come play a wedding or come play whatever, and people respect that more generally, I
Right.
think. Um, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely it's like they're distant cousins from each other, and
Yeah,
not exactly alike, but they're
right.
different animals. But um, you mentioned something about the faith thing though, and that sense of community. Um, what's it like, I guess, as a musician when people have seen you do the worship thing, and then you make the shift to kind of writing your own project and stuff. Do you feel like that some people who maybe are disappointed that you didn't go the other route?
Um, I don't know, honestly. I think one thing about being in Nashville is that even the Christians here, or at least the ones I'm around, kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to some extent, I've been able to keep doing both
Okay.
in my life. So I'm still in worship, but it's less than it was when I was like a worship leader in Tulsa. But yeah, I don't know. I guess those people are probably out there, but maybe they're
Yeah.
not saying
Well, I
anything to
think
me. But
yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with you though. Like Nashville seems to be a place where like both of those worlds can exist.
yeah, yeah, and that's good. I guess definitely sometimes if I'm am somewhere else, like I think I played a show in Tyler, Texas, and I mean the my stuff that I do is it's not CCM, it's not contemporary Christian music, it's definitely pop. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember talking to somebody after the show, and they're asking me like, "What? So why aren't you doing Christian music? I don't understand." And so I do run into that sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh, I got kicked out of a show in Louisiana because my MySpace page at the time looked Christian enough. It was at a for a youth group thing or something, and they looked at it and they're like, wait, he didn't say Jesus anywhere in his bio. Nope, he's a poser. We can't let him come play.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, well, I guess what would be where you want to see yourself, say, in the next 4 years? I mean, uh, I know the easy thing is to keep playing music, but kind of
Yeah.
what's your goal? Um,
Yeah. I would love to see. I would love to see a few things happen. I would love to see myself actually living off of my music income.
mhm.
Um, Not at a point where that is happening. I would love to see. I would love to see one of my songs, maybe more of my songs, on some movies.
Okay.
I would love to. I would love to see a song chart somewhere somehow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think the movie thing that's a really interesting thing that maybe doesn't occur to a lot of artists. But if you think
Hmm.
about like pop music, I know like anytime like I've played music like DJ'd or something like that, like it's the songs that are in movies that everybody goes wild for.
Yeah, yeah, that
And
makes
so it
sense.
has so much life to them, beyond what they're originally intended for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's. I mean, it's a lucrative way to make money doing music. Also,
Yeah,
uh, just it. I mean, obviously, it's limited on how many people can get there, so the gate is a little harder to get through. But I do think it is easier to get through than like getting uh getting up there with Taylor Swift or Coldplay or something like that.
yeah, yeah. Well, one last question, and then I think we're gonna wrap this up. But
Yeah,
I gotta throw in this out. I talk a lot about gear on this podcast. So
sweet.
so let's kind of give me a quick rundown of what you like to use and what you play.
Yeah. My main acoustic is a Taylor 414
Okay.
CE, so it's got the cutaway, so I
Mm-hmm.
can play those high notes. I like the high notes. I've been playing that for 12 years, and I love it, and I will probably keep playing it. I've got a Martin X series as my backup acoustic.
Okay.
Um, I got it because I needed a backup acoustic, but also because it does well in humidity. And when I
Absolutely.
take the guitar over to India, I need something that can that can withstand that. My electric is a Telecaster, American Telecaster.
Okay.
I play through an Egnator amp at the moment,
Okay.
which
Is
I
it
love.
Rebel or
Yes, the Rebel.
cool? Are you a pedal guy?
Not hugely. I do have. I had more pedals a few years ago, but you remember earlier what I mentioned? My car got broken into on a Wednesday morning.
Oh, okay.
All my pedals got stolen.
Oh man.
But I use I really like JHS pedals. I use a Morning Glory Overdrive. Then I've got a what is it? I've got a TC Electronic delay that I use as well, and then a volume pedal. That's it on my board right now.
I like that chain. To me personally, a good drive if I can't crank my amp loud enough,
Yeah,
and delay, and then reverb if my amp doesn't have it.
yeah, yeah, man. Oh, my favorite pedal I ever had was the Blue Sky
Oh yeah,
Reverb. Oh man, I missed that thing, but it cost like $300.
yeah. That's hard to replace for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so do you use amp verb?
Sorry?
Do you use the reverb on the amp?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah,
Which is it's okay. It's a decent reverb, but it's not as diverse as the Blue Sky was.
yeah, yeah. Well, I like it simple like that personally. I know some of my listeners are, they'll have crazy amounts of pedals, but I like to like personally like for it not to get in the way of my playing too much.
Yeah.
Just what I need, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and I think like I don't know if you'd agree with this or not, but like when you're like the front man or singing and stuff, that's not really where you want your head to be while you're playing.
In the pedals.
Right.
Yeah. No, I can't. It's two different worlds for me. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna play electric and worry about pedals, then I want to stand in the back corner and let someone else sing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think like if I'm playing like for somebody, I would agree too. Like I feel a little intimidated if I don't have some of that stuff
Yeah.
to help, especially if you're playing with another guitar player. You're trying to find the space that they're not filling. But yeah, as a front man or playing for yourself, like trying to free your mind just to perform is like the main concentration.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man, for coming on the show. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I know our
Yeah,
listeners will too.
Clifton, thanks so much. It's been good chatting with you.
Yeah, same here. And love to maybe in the future just kind of get an update from you on kind of where your journey's been, and if you would like to hear some of Roger's music, where would be the best place to find it?
You can jump on, well, I mean, iTunes or Spotify. I'm in those places. You can jump on YouTube and watch the videos.
Yeah, and I would encourage that. Watch the music video. It's very good.
Yeah, sweet.
Well, cool. Well, thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks, Clifton.